ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for another video. Week 3 is in the books. Week 2, Week 3 have been completely, absolutely crazy. Lots of upsets, lots of favorite teams going down hot. Week 4 picks up, and it looks like it's going to be following in Week 2 and Week 3's footsteps. There's some really good matchups coming up this week. We have a lot of games. What we're going to do is we are going to break down our Week 4 NFL predictions, go game by game, look at every single game, break them down, try to predict the outcome, who's going to win, lose, what the final score will be, and we'll also take a look at our spreads, money lines, and over-unders. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. If you have any comments about these games or anything, drop them below, and I will always make sure to respond. Hit that like button and subscribe. We're going over every game, every NFL week, and we also do the same thing for every single college football game every week as well. Make sure you're subscribed so you can follow along with us. Like I was saying, Week 2 and 3, absolutely crazy. Really sets us up for a drama-filled Week 4, but hopefully things calm down because it's been some crazy games. Hopefully we just get back to normal football, but we know when you have Vegas, when you have the refs throwing flags or not throwing flags in some cases, it can really throw things off. But let's get started. The very first game we have our Amazon Prime Thursday game at 8:15. The 1-2 Dallas Cowboys. They'll be on the road versus the 1-2 New York Giants. The Cowboys here on the road, 56.9% chance to win this game. The over-under here is 45.5. Dallas is 5.5-point favorites. Who would have thought that at Week 4, Dallas and the Giants would both be 1-2? Crazy stuff. Technically, they both have the same standing right now. What has happened to the Dallas Cowboys defense? When you look at these stats here, they're giving up 29.7 points a game. They are better than that. They've been playing awful. They're giving up 187 pass yards, 186 rushing yards. They're getting blitzed every single game on the defensive side. They need to get that under control. Namely, they need to get some turnovers. They need to generate some type of pass rush. Parsons has to play better. A lot of these guys have massive max contracts. We need to see a better performance out of them. Dallas comes in here. They're averaging 25.7 points a game. But look at the rush yards, 73.7 rush yards per game. What is that? Dowdle is leading this team with 88 rushing yards after 3 weeks. That's less than 30 a game. That's not going to cut it. We need the offensive line to open up some holes. We need Prescott to play better. Yes, they made the Week 3 game close, but that was all garbage time points. They showed heart there. That's great. We need to see more out of Prescott. We need to see more out of CeeDee Lamb. They are the leaders on this team. But namely, that defense needs to get some stops, need to generate some turnovers. For the Giants, they finally got their win. I'm not saying that all is saved and they're finally going to get hot. They're only averaging 15 a game. They're giving up 21.3 per game. Daniel Jones is not the answer at quarterback. If I was a Giants fan, I want to lose as many games as possible, personally, so I can get a high draft pick. They have Singletary at running back. They have Malik Neighbors having a great rookie season. He looks like a legitimate wide receiver number 1. Dallas has to win this game. If they fall to 1-3, there's going to be hell to pay. People are going to start getting fired. I have Dallas pulling this one out on the road, winning this one 27-17 and covering that spread. The next matchup we're looking at on Fox at 1 p.m., 2-1 New Orleans Saints finally got their first loss of the season this past weekend. They'll be playing 1-2 Atlanta Falcons, who's a lot better than their 1-2 record. The Saints on the road, a 51.1% chance to win this game. The Falcons, though, 1.5-point favorites. Over-under is 42.5. This game is virtually a pick-em. It's almost practically a 50-50 split down the middle. The Saints were probably the hottest team of the first 2 weeks. They came down to earth in Week 3. Carr was having a MVP caliber season. Not so much last week, but the Saints are still a really good team. They have Carr, they have Kamara, they have Olave. They have a very decent offensive team. They also have a great defensive squad here. They're averaging 34.3 points a game. They had over 45 points a game the first 2 weeks. Didn't do that last week, but 34.3 per game. That's top 3 easily in the NFL still. Solid defense, giving up 14.7 per game. For the Falcons, they're averaging 16.3 points a game, but that's kind of skewed there. They had a really bad Week 1, but Kirk Cousins was really rusty, missed the majority of last season, pretty much missed the whole preseason. He was in a new scheme, new team, looked bad Week 1, looked a lot better Week 2, Even though they lost this past week versus the Chiefs, Cousins played really well. So he's getting more comfortable every single game in this scheme. He has the weapons. Look for them to get better every week. They have a really good roster, really good offensive roster. Cousins, London, Mooney, Bijan Robinson, Algier, Pitts. They have weapons at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. They have a good defensive line. They have a good offensive line. Look for the Falcons' defensive line to get some pressure on Carr, shut down Kamara, force the Saints to have to go vertical. I have Atlanta pulling this one out, winning 27-20 and covering that spread. But I would say that as of right now, these teams are pretty evenly matched, actually. The next matchup here is going to be a really fun one on Fox at 1 p.m. We're in our Sunday games here. We have the LA Rams at 1-2 visiting the 1-2 Chicago Bears. The Rams on the road here, they are the underdogs. Looking here, they have a 49.7% chance to win this game. The Bears a 49.9% chance. The Bears are 2.5-point favorites. The over-under in this game is 40.5. It's probably going to be a pretty close game. So obviously the Rams had a really good win this past weekend. That was a game that they were actually not expecting to win. They kind of stumbled into it. Props for them. Props to their coaching staff. Showed you just how valuable a veteran, experienced quarterback is. Stafford has the arm. He is healthy right now. Kind of banged up, but he made diamonds out of what they had on the field. They were down Cooper Kupp. They were down Nakua, but they still had Williams. He was still able to find his guys open, hit them, own the fourth quarter, score when they had to score. They won the game. For the Bears, when you're looking at Caleb Williams, he had 93 yards in week 1. I think he had like 170 in week 3. This past game, he had like 350 yards. He led the team in rushing that game. He's getting better statistically every single game, but he's still under a lot of pressure. He's hit a lot. He's sacked a lot. He's forcing the ball. This is not college. This isn't the old Pac-12. He's having a harder time finding guys open, but this is actually a pretty good squad. You have Caleb Williams, Swift, Moore, Odunze. He has the weapons there. The line just needs to give him some time, but he's getting better every week. Look for that to continue here. The Bears do not have a bad defense by any means. The Rams average 19 a game. They give up 30.3 points a game. Chicago averages 17.7 a game. They give up 19. I'm going to go with the Bears to win this in a close one, 24-20. The Rams are just down too many weapons, and at some point that has to catch up with them. Our next matchup at 1 p.m. on CBS, the 3-0 Minnesota Vikings, who had them undefeated at week 4. They'll be on the road versus the 2-1 Green Bay Packers. This game's at 1 p.m. The Packers have a 55.5% chance to win this game. They're the Vegas favorites, 2.5-point favorites. The over-under is 43.5. Minnesota, obviously one of the surprise teams this season. Props to them. J.J. McCarthy goes down. Sam steps in. He's completely been a different quarterback than since he came out of college. He's been performing at a high level this season. He has almost 700 passing yards through the first 3 games, and he's been slinging the ball. He's been making great decisions. He's had not very many turnovers at all. He's been throwing bombs. They have the weapons there. They have Jones. They have Jefferson. Their defense is playing solid ball. They're only giving up 10 points a game. The offense has been moving the ball 28.3 points a game. But at some point, you would think it has to catch up on them. They're probably due for a bad performance at some point. That's not a knock on the team. That's just a statistical probability. At some point, they're due for a bad game. They've played perfect the first 3 weeks, 3 straight wins. For Green Bay, Jordan Love goes down week 1. He was questionable this past weekend. Malik Willis started. They had a good game. He was slinging the ball. He was running the ball. They have Josh Jacobs. They have Reed. They have the weapons there, and he was finding the weapons. But if Love was questionable last week, he's definitely... There's probably a 50-50 chance that he suits up this Sunday. So as of right now, we don't even know who's starting for the Packers. Could be Love, could be Willis. If it is Love, is he fully healthy? Is he limited? How much weight could he put on his leg? Can he scramble? Will he get knocked out? There's a lot of unknowns there. That's what I don't like about this game. Sam also got hurt last game. Is he going to start? Is he going to miss time? Will he be limited if they get pressure on him due to his knee? Will he make some mistakes? We don't know all of that right now. So there's just a couple of unknowns in this game. There's some gray area. But I'm going to go on Love playing in that. He's about 90 to 95% ready. I have Green Bay winning this one 20-17 and covering that spread. This next game has low-scoring affair written all over it. At 1 p.m., we have the 3-0 undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers visiting the 1-2 Colts. The Steelers on the road have a 53.8% chance to win this game. They are 1.5-point favorites, basically a pick-em. The over-under's 39.5. Vegas has this being a low-scoring game. With the Steelers, you know the way they play under Mike Tomlin. They play solid special teams. They power run the ball downhill. They always have a good line. They're going to play great defense. They have the mobile quarterback right now. They're going to control the clock. They're going to run the clock down. Or they're going to run the ball. They're going to get some turnovers. That does not play well at all for the Colts. Anthony Richardson, I said it last year, the guy was not good at UF. I never saw it. They drafted him. He got hurt last year, so we didn't get to see his performance last season. But we're definitely seeing it now. He's not an accurate passer of the ball. He has great physical talents, but that's not everything. But he is their quarterback. He's going to have a lot of pressure on him. Steelers, they're going to disguise their looks. They're going to blitz him. They're going to play zone. They're going to play man-to-man. They're going to do everything they can to try to scramble him up and force some turnovers, force him to throw some picks. He has the weapons, though. He has Pierce. He has Jonathan Taylor, one of the best running back, receiver-type combo players. But he just needs to get the ball to them without getting a turnover. Colts defense, they're going to have to get stops here because the Steelers are going to be looking to run that clock. Steelers only average 17 a game. They only give up 8.7 points a game. Solid performance. This game plays into the Steelers' strengths. I have Mike Tomlin taking this one on the road, winning it 20-16. Like I said, a very low-scoring line of scrimmage type game. This next one on CBS at 1 p.m., the 1-2 Denver Broncos finally got their first win of the season in Week 3. They'll be visiting the 2-1 New York Jets. The Jets at home, 69.9% chance to win this game. 7.5-point favorites. The over-under is 38.5. So like I mentioned, Denver got their first win. Bo Nix, a awful Week 1 performance. A better but still awful Week 2 performance. But he lit it up in Week 3. You see what Sean Payton's doing, why he drafted Bo Nix. He's a very accurate passer. Dink and dunk passing, roll the pocket, let him scramble, keep the game mobile. That's Bo Nix's strength, and it really worked Week 3. Props to them. Great game. Am I buying that as being a permanent performance every week going forward? No. He's still their leading rusher, and he only has 107 rushing yards. That's pretty bad. Your quarterback cannot be leading after Week 3 and you only have 107 rushing yards. Someone needs to step up at the running back position. He has Reynolds. He has some weapons. They don't have a bad defense, so they're averaging 17.3. They're giving up 15.3. So the defense is not performing bad considering how the offense has not been able to generate points through the first 2 games. But then you have the Jets. The Jets are getting better every single week since their Week 1 loss to the 49ers. Obviously, Rodgers didn't play for a long time, missed the majority of the preseason. But he is familiar with his offensive scheme, having played in it before. So he's just basically knocking the rust off. He has the weapons there. Hall, Allen, Wilson, he has a decent line. He's getting a lot more better. His arm is getting more and more accurate every game. He's always been one of the most accurate quarterbacks ever. He's a very safe quarterback, but he is about 40 years old right now. But we know this is a team that you have to be watchful of. They're not going to light it up. They're not going to score 30 to 40 points per game, but they're going to play solid defense, and Rodgers only has to get you about 25 points a game, and they can almost compete with anyone right now. Right now, they're averaging 22.3. They're giving up 17.3. They're throwing for 210, running for 101. I have the Jets winning this one. They're going to bottle up Bo Nix, try to keep him in the pocket, keep him from being able to scramble, force him to have to beat them vertically through the air. The Jets win 24-13, and they cover the spread. Our next game at 1 p.m. on Fox, the 2-1 Philadelphia Eagles coming off of a win versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are also 2-1. Philadelphia has a 61.2% chance to win this game. They are 2.5-point favorites. The over-under is 44.5. Philly had that win this past weekend. What a performance again from Saquon Barkley, but what a performance for the Eagles defense. I've been knocking their defense since the second half of last year. Since the second half of last season, they took a massive step back. They were basically Swiss cheese, but they actually had a really good game this past weekend. Lots of turnovers too. The Eagles, they've been a turnover machine on their offense. They played better this past weekend. Still, turnovers continue to plague them, especially with Hurts, but you can't knock it when they won a game. They won without their major weapons, Smith, Brown. They still won the game. You still have Hurts. You still have Saquon Barkley, who's having a great season catching and running the ball. You have Goddard. We don't know if Smith will be back this weekend. We don't know when Brown's coming back, so they're still down some of their weapons, but they showed they can still score. They played solid defense. For Tampa Bay, they have a great defensive line. They had Baker Mayfield. Yes, he had a bad game in week 3. Don't let that ruin things. He was the comeback player of the year last season. And he also has one of the better wide receiver cores. He has Godwin. He has Evans. He has Irving at the running back position. Solid defense. This was a playoff team from last season. Don't forget that. They know how to play football. They're very well coached. But the Eagles' performance won me over this past weekend. They won it. They found a way to win when they needed to. That's a problem that they've had. They have not been able to find a way to win. They learned how to do that without their major weapons. That's a massive step forward. I have the Eagles taking this one 27-20 and covering the spread. This next matchup, I really don't know what to make of this next matchup. At 1 p.m. on Fox, the 0-3 Cincinnati Bengals. Let me repeat that. The 0-3 Cincinnati Bengals. How did it come to this for the Bengals? They'll be on the road versus the 1-2 Carolina Panthers. The Bengals, 64.9% chance to win this game. They are 4.5-point favorites. Over-under is 48.5. The Bengals, there's not much you can say here. They've been a hot mess to start the season since their week 1 loss to the Patriots. Then they played the Chiefs really close. Then they laid an egg in week 3. Their defense has been awful. The offense has been awful. They got their weapons back this past weekend, and yes, they got some garbage time points. They made a game of it, but it's pathetic that it turned into that kind of shootout. Right now, they come in, they're averaging 22.7 a game. They are giving up 26.7. They're giving up 168 pass yards, 142 rush yards. For the Panthers, they bench Bryce Young, their number 1 pick, and they bring in Andy Dalton, the Red Fury, and he basically goes off, and they win the game. This was the worst team in the NFL last season. They were the worst team in the NFL again this season. They were looking worse than they did last year, surprisingly, but I don't know. Maybe the issue was Bryce Young the whole time because Dalton looked great. I'm not completely buying in and saying that they're a playoff or a 500 team now. A lot of teams just weren't prepared for Dalton, but we've seen Dalton before, so we know what he is. He's been in the NFL for a while, but he played one game when he's already the team's leading passer, 319 yards. They have Hubbard. They have Johnson. They've got a couple weapons. They don't have a good line. They don't have a good defense by any means. They only average 16.3. They give up 31.7. So there's going to be openings for the Bengals to make a game of it. Dalton had a great game last week. Props to him. Props to Panthers fans. But with your defense so bad, the Bengals are going to score first quarter. They're going to score fast. How's Dalton going to respond when he's down now? That's when we'll see the real Dalton. I have the Bengals finally getting a win, but I'm kind of getting sick of saying it. But it should happen at some point, right? I have them winning this weekend 30-20 and covering the spread. Our next matchups, 2 of our young quarterbacks at 1 p.m. on CBS, the 0-3 Jacksonville Jaguars, who are coming off of a curb stomping from the Buffalo Bills. They'll be on the road versus the Houston Texans at 2-1. Texans at home, 61% chance to win this game. They are 7-point favorites. The over-under is 45.5. Jacksonville, they just got the doors blown off of them by the Bills. They have so many glaring issues. The line, Trevor Lawrence, the running game, a true legitimate number 1 wide receiver, their entire defense. I don't know where you start to fix this team. Is it Peterson? Is it Khan? Is it the roster? Do you just break it down and start over? I don't really know. There's so many issues. There's so many things that they have to get right. But they're playing the Texans. This is a team. This is basically their rival team right now. Texans coming off of a loss, but we know this team is loaded. Stroud, Mixon, Collins, Diggs. They average 18.3 a game. They're giving up 24.7 points a game. They don't have the best defense. It's just an average defense. But the Jags have not been able to consistently score on anyone so far this season. And they're giving up 252.3 pass yards per game, 110 rushing yards. Like I said, so many issues, and the Texans can exploit that. This is the type of game that Jacksonville wins, though. When they're not supposed to win it, they'll find some way to win it. But I have the Texans winning this one 24-20, but not covering the spread. The next game we're looking at on Fox at 4:05 p.m., the 2-1 Washington Commanders. Washington Commanders are finally over 500. Props to them. They'll be on the road versus the 1-2 Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals at home, 61.4% chance to win this game. They're 3.5-point favorites. The over-under is 50.5. This is going to be a fun game. This is two young quarterbacks. This is two offenses that can consistently score right now. The Commanders come in, they average 26.3 a game. The Cardinals, they're right there. They average 27.3 points a game. Washington gives up 29.3. So there's going to be openings for Kyler Murray to hit deep shots. He has Marvin Harrison Jr., he has James Conner. They will be able to run the ball. Washington gives up 255.7 pass yards. There's going to be lanes open for Marvin Harrison Jr. Kyler Murray is going to run around. He will get one deep shot this game. That will happen. But the Cardinals, they don't really have a great pass rush, but they are only giving up 21.3 points per game. But there's going to be holes there. That defense is not great. Washington has shown their offense is legitimate this season. But this is a personal game. The offensive coordinator for the Commanders is Cliff Kingsbury, the old head coach for the Cardinals. Him and Kyler Murray don't get along. You see what Cliff Kingsbury has done for Daniels. He's having a rookie of the year season right now. He has almost 700 yards passing. He had the highest completion percentage in one game in NFL history this past weekend. They won it. They beat the Bengals. They beat them bad. They have Robinson Jr. They have Terry. They have the weapons there. They can score. Cardinals are the favorite. I'm calling upset here. I have Washington winning this one, continuing their hot streak, winning it 28-24, and that spread not being covered. Then at 4:05 p.m. on Fox, you have the 1-2 New England Patriots. They're on the road versus the 1-2 San Francisco 49ers. San Fran, they went to the Super Bowl last season. Right now, they're 1-2. Don't let that confuse you, though. This is a very good team. When healthy, the best top-to-bottom roster in the NFL. So they're going to get the ship right. The 49ers at home have a 77.2% chance to win this game. 9.5-point favorites. That's a massive NFL spread. The over-under is 39.5. When you're looking at New England, they average 13 a game. They give up 19 a game. They're really not good at anything specifically. They have two quarterbacks. They have Jacoby Brissett. They have Drake May. It really doesn't matter who they roll out this game. They're not going to be able to move the ball. San Francisco's defense is still one of the best top 5 defenses in the NFL right now. They're going to bottle them up. They're going to get pressure. They're going to hit them a lot. They have Stevenson at running back. He's been having a pretty solid season this year, especially since the Patriots only throw for 1-2. So you pretty much know that they're nonstop running the ball, and he's still putting together a pretty decent year. For the 49ers, their offense is banged up. Debo, McCaffrey, but they still have weapons. They still have Brock Purdy, who had one of the best games of his career this past week because a lot of his weapons were gone. Kittle's banged up. He has Ayuk. He has Mason there running the ball, but he stepped up. He's shown he can put this team on his back. They lost, but that was a major step forward this past weekend. Hopefully they will consistently get healthy every single week going forward. They average 24.3. They give up 23, but their defense is a lot better than that 23 shows. I have San Francisco winning this one 27-13, the game never being in question and them covering the spread. The next game at 4:25 p.m. on CBS, the 1-2 Cleveland Browns. What a mess Cleveland is. They have a top 10 defense, but their offense, basically all due to Deshaun Watson, is awful. They're on the road versus the Raiders, who sit at 1-2. The Browns have a 51% chance to win this game, but the Raiders are 1-point favorites. The over-under is 37.5. The Browns, a actually pretty decent offensive roster. Watson, 4 years ago, great player. They have Ford, they have Judy, they have Cooper. They cannot move the ball. Deshaun Watson is a complete shell of himself. The guy cannot throw accurately past 5 yards. He's just a screen dink and dunk player, and he's not even good at that. He's completely awful, and he has the baggage of all the off-the-field stuff. He's probably going to get suspended again at some point. There's really nothing there to put your hat on, basically. When you look at the Raiders, they had a Week 3 awful performance. Pierce has to get this squad back on track. Minshew's kind of a Jekyll Hyde player. He can throw for 3 touchdowns. He can throw 3 picks. He's closing in on 800 passing yards. He can throw the ball. He can sling it. He needs to get the ball to the playmakers. White, Adams, you have Crosby on the defensive side. Look for the Raiders to balance out that defense. They're going to get after Deshaun Watson. He's getting hit. He's making awful decisions. They're going to blitz him nonstop, and he's probably going to get sacked 4 to 5 times this game. I have the Raiders winning this one 20-17, and Watson continuing to look awful, and that spread getting covered. Then at 4:25 p.m. on CBS, the undefeated Super Bowl champs, the 3-0 Kansas City Chiefs on the road versus the 2-1 LA Chargers. The Chiefs have a 63.1% chance to win this game. They are 7.5-point favorites. The over-under is 39.5. Had the Chargers been fully healthy, this would have been a really fun game to watch. Mahomes versus Herbert, but Herbert got hurt this past weekend. He is in a walking boot. He has not officially been rolled out this game, but Harbaugh is going to keep that under wraps to the last minute. As of right now, the guy was in a boot, so I'm guessing he's probably not going to play. That's the unknown there, but that's why the spread so far. Looking at the team stats here, Kansas City, they average 25 per game. They give up 20.7 points a game, but they had a top 5 defense last season. That defense is better than that 20.7 points. For the Chargers, they average 19.3 points. A very solid top 5 defense as of right now. They're only giving up 11 points a game. This is a hardball team. They run the ball. They play good defense. They play special teams. They suck up the clock. They didn't need much from Herbert when he was playing, so they might not need him right now because they can run the ball. J.K. Dobbins, they're going to be running downhill, but the Chiefs' strength is their line. They still have Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey, Pacheco's hurt, but they have Rice, Worthy. They have the weapons there. They're going to be able to control the clock. They have the better offense right now. Herbert's not playing. The Chargers are technically leaderless, although they weren't using him. That's a massive loss. That's a massive unknown. I have to go with Kansas City winning this one on the road, 24-16, and covering the spread. This next game is going to be good. It's 2 of the best quarterbacks in the NFL facing off. NBC, 8:20 p.m. on Sunday. We have the 3-0 undefeated Buffalo Bills. They're on the road versus the 1-2 Baltimore Ravens. The Bills right now probably look like the most impressive team in the NFL technically. They have a 56.7% chance to win this game. 2.5-point favorites on the road. The over-under is 46.5. Buffalo, they're averaging 37.3 points a game. And that's not due to one shootout skewing the numbers. They've been consistently moving the ball in every one they've played this season. They can throw the ball. They can run the ball. Solid defense. They're only giving up 16 points a game for Baltimore. We know how good they were last year. This is a Super Bowl contending roster. They had a top 5 offense last season, the number 1 rushing team last season, top 5 defense last season. Right now, they had a couple bad games, but they are kind of starting to get hot right now. Lamar Jackson starting to look really comfortable. They're starting to run this season. Right now, they average 23.7 a game. They give up 26 a game. But like I've said for some of the other teams, that does not justify how good and physical this defense actually is. They're going to want to get some pressure on Josh Allen, flush him out the pocket, try to get some hits on him, try to knock him up, try to force him to make some of those errant throws that he's been known for at times. But this is a new Josh Allen this season. Joe Brady calling a gate scheme. They lost Diggs. They lost some of their defensive players due to cap issues, but it seems like they got better without Diggs. They can run the ball. They have Cook. They have Shakur. They have Coleman. They have Josh Allen, who's probably the MVP favorite right now. But Baltimore, you have 2-time MVP Lamar Jackson. You have Derrick Henry. You have Andrews, Likely, Flowers, weapons up and down the field. This game could go either way. It's a 50-50. The Ravens don't want to fall to 1-3. That's a high hill to have to climb. They're capable of getting back, though. But as of right now, I have to go with Buffalo continuing to roll, winning this one in a close one, a lower scoring game, 24-20, and covering the spread. The next one at 7:30, this is our Monday night games at 7:30 p.m. on ESPN. The 0-3 winless Tennessee Titans versus the 1-2 Miami Dolphins. Titans have a 56.4% chance to win this game, but it's the Dolphins who are the favorite. They're 1-point favorite. The game is basically a pick-em. The over-under is 36.5. This game has sloppy, boring game written all over it, but we could be surprised. Tennessee, they have a lot of issues. Will Levis has not been having a good season by any means. They're only averaging 16 points a game, and their defense has been getting torched. They're giving up 26 points per game. For Miami, their offense is averaging 11 per game. That's probably the worst in the NFL right now. But we know that this offense is loaded, but they lost Tua. They lost their general on the field. We don't even know who's going to be starting this Sunday. Skylar Thompson got knocked out the game this past weekend. They could not move the ball at all. They're basically just a run team. Without someone who can throw a spiral past 5 yards, this team has nowhere to go. And it's a shame because this is a game that they would have won. To me, they would have beaten Seattle last week with Tua. They would have curb stomped Tennessee this weekend, but they don't have Tua. They have Mostert, they have Achin, they have Hill, Waddle, Berrios. Probably one of the top 5 best offensive rosters. But like I said, we don't even know who's going to be on the field at the quarterback position. So I can't, in good conscience, pick them to win because we don't know what's going on yet. I have Tennessee winning this one in a low-scoring, awful, boring game, winning it 17-13, and that spread not being covered. And our final game of Week 4 at 8:15 p.m. on Monday on ABC, the 3-0 undefeated Seattle Seahawks versus the 2-1 Detroit Lions. Detroit at home, 61.9% chance to win this game. They are 4-point favorites. The over-under is 47.5. This is going to be a fun game. Seattle's undefeated right now. I'm not buying them as like a 12-5 or 13-4 team, but this is a solid team, potentially a playoff team. But at some point, they have to come down to earth. That first loss is lurking somewhere on their schedule. When is it going to happen? Lions coming off of that close win in Week 3. They showed some heart, won the game. Seattle averages 24.3 points a game. Solid defensive team. They're only giving up 14.3 points a game. They're passing the ball really well, but we need to see a little more consistent running out of the run game. But obviously, Walker's been hurt. Charbonnet has been running the ball. But when does Walker come back? That could completely change the outcome to the game because obviously he's a great running back. For Detroit, last season they had a top 10 offense, top 10 defense. This is a team that has Super Bowl in their sights. They're more than capable of it. Right now they average 20.7 points a game. They give up 17.7 points a game. But they have weapons everywhere. You have Goff. You have Montgomery, Diggs, Williams, St. Brown. They can throw it, they can run it, they play solid defense. I have to go with the Lions winning this game, giving Seattle their first loss, 27-24. That's a push. I think that spread's probably going to come down at some point, but close game, but Lions winning the game. So that's our breakdown. That's our predictions for Week 4 of the NFL football season. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments, drop them below, and I will respond. Thank you.